Totally should have worn my hair in a bun so I could wear this throughout the video. No, I would look like an absolute dickhead. Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. So this is vlog 2 from my 7 days of self-isolation vlogging. I received an email the other day to say that pretty much most like every event that is happening at the moment with more than 500 people, my graduation ceremony is going to be cancelled. And to be honest, I'm not really that mad about it. I wasn't really that keen on going to my graduation. I was more keen on just going out to dinner and spending the night with my girlfriend. So I'm not too phased about it. I'm happy to just get my honours certificate sent to me in the mail. But what I thought I would do is sit down and film a video all about my honours, my experience studying my honours, and answering some of your questions about doing an honours degree here in Australia. So for those of you who don't know, I finished my honours, I officially finished it in February. I submitted my thesis in November, but then we had the, I don't like saying Christmas because not everyone celebrates Christmas. Then we had the holidays because of my lecturers being based in Brisbane, Sydney and Melbourne. I didn't get all of my stuff marked and complete until February, so technically I was only course complete last month, even though I really finished it in November. So in Australia, an honours degree is an additional year on top of the standard bachelor's degree, where you do a year of advanced coursework and a thesis. So in the UK, I believe it's like a compulsory part of just a standard bachelor's degree to write what they call a, what do they call it in the UK? Dissertation. They write a dissertation, which is a similar concept, except it's not as long. I was talking to a friend from the UK the other day, and she said it doesn't have to be as long as the honours thesis in Australia, which is generally 12,000 to 15,000 words. So in Australia, you have the option of doing the honours year. I chose to do the extra year of honours, and in this video, I thought I would answer all of your questions about honours degrees. So I asked you guys on my Instagram, like way back when I submitted my thesis, and I thought I might do a video like this, what questions you had. So I'm going back a little bit, but a lot of the questions are kind of the same, so I've kind of put them into like the 6 most common questions that I got asked, and I'm just going to get straight into this video. So this was a really interesting question, not really specific to honours per se, but it said a lot of creators talk about how going to university or college is kind of unnecessary these days. Would you agree? Yes and no. I think it depends on what you're studying. If you are studying something in like the natural sciences or something like accounting, law, finance, anything like that, even business to a degree, you can't really expect to get a job above like an entry-level job in that field. I think if you don't study, they have standards, they have associations that you need to be accredited by. Nursing and medicine, another one that should be in that example. All those sorts of things, you can't really expect to get a job in that field without the proper education and the proper qualifications and accreditations that come with that. Then you have things that I think you could go to university if you wanted to go down that route, but I don't think it's completely necessary. Things, anything in like the creative industries, graphic design, media, video production, any of the arts, music, any of that sort of thing, I think it's really optional. I think you can benefit a lot from learning in a university environment and learning from industry professionals, but I also think that if that's not an environment that you would thrive in, you could also just, if you were motivated enough, kind of go down the self-directed learning path and teach yourself these things. I learned how to video edit on watching YouTube videos, and I know friends who have finished university and have decided that they actually want to go down a more creative route, and they've learned how to use the entire Adobe suite just from watching YouTube videos and like Skillshare videos and stuff. So I think it is definitely possible. Then I think there are things that are sort of in the middle where you could, if you really didn't want to go to university, still enter that field, but you probably would need to do a degree. So kind of the things like what I studied, international development, social work is another one. Technically, you don't need a degree in social work to get into certain social work jobs, but again, it is highly valued, I think, more than just a lot of experience in that field. So it really just depends on what you're studying. I would say in general, I had a really good experience at university. I really liked going to university. I thrived in that environment. I'm quite an academic person. I like the structure. of university, but I know some people aren't the same. And so I can understand why some people would say university is not really worth it these days, especially when there are so many other ways that you can educate yourself and pursue education beyond university. But I think for anyone pursuing a career in kind of those areas that I talked about, university is really valuable, and I don't think it should be overlooked. I hope that answers that question. Next question. I'm undecided about doing my honours after my bachelor's degree. Do you think it's worth it? Again, yes and no. So if you want to pursue a master's by research, not coursework, or a PhD, then doing your honours is incredibly valuable. That's the reason I chose to do my honours, because I think one day I would like to pursue postgraduate research. And by doing your honours and getting a first class honours or a second class division A honours, so I think that's like, at my university, that's like 76. Actually, I'm not sure what it is. I know at my university, 85% and up is first class honours, and then I think 76 to 85 is second class division A, but it does vary at other universities. I know some universities where 80% and up is considered a first class honours, so it really just depends. But basically, if you get the high enough grades, you can bypass the whole master's thing and go straight from an honours degree into a PhD if you wanted to do that. That is the reason I chose to do my honours, but you can also, if you choose to do the bachelor's degree, then go do masters by research, then go do a PhD. But it's a lot quicker if you do the honours first, so that's why I chose to do it. Again, if you're not as academically inclined and you probably wouldn't get those top grades, or you're not in a position to really put in the effort that is required for you to get those grades, then maybe just skip the honours, do a masters, get a feel for what research is like, because a master's is more similar to a PhD, and there's a lot less pressure as well. I don't think it really matters if you get the really high grades in the masters. As long as you do the masters and you pass it, you can then get into a PhD. I also think an honours degree is valuable if you are going into a job after your undergraduate study and you are going for a job that requires some form of research, whether it's qualitative or quantitative research, but something like policy or anything that requires like a little bit of research as part of the degree. If it doesn't require a postgraduate research degree and a background in research, then just having that year of honours kind of gives you that proof that you are capable of doing serious qualitative or quantitative research within your field. And I think that's highly valued in a lot of policy and other kind of entry-level research jobs. So again, that's a situation where I would say doing your honours degree can be really valuable. I don't think it's really valuable if you're just looking at getting a job in your field. I don't think having that honours degree would really make you, in most cases, more qualified or more favoured, as opposed to a candidate who did the same bachelor's degrees as you but didn't have that honours degree. I think most employers, and myself included, when for my own enterprise and organisation, I look at people's resumes and I hire volunteers and subcontractors and people from my team, I would prefer to look at an extra year of experience, whether it's volunteer experience, interning in the field. I would probably value that higher than just doing that year of honours. So again, it's up to you. It depends on what career path you want to take and whatnot. I'm going to be doing my honours next year. What tips and advice do you have? Oh, I have some good advice. Not really. It's just use your common sense. Don't be stupid like me. Don't start your thesis in September when it's due at the end of October, November. That should really go without saying, but that is what I did. I was really good with my coursework because I love coursework. I love writing short essays. I get really into that. The thesis is a really slow process, and I'm like one of those instant gratification people. I like to sit down and work for 8 hours and like physically see what I've produced. You don't get that with a thesis. You sit down for 8 hours and you read, and you just, at the end of it, you're like, cool, now I'm more confused than I was before. It's a really slow process, and I learned that the hard way. Like I said, I was really good with my coursework, and then I went overseas for 8 weeks, and I told myself I was going to work on my thesis throughout the 8 weeks. That didn't happen. I don't know why I always tell myself when I'm traveling I'll get work done, because it literally never happens. And I came back, and my supervisor was really impressed with what I'd done, surprisingly. And then at our next check-in a month later, he was like, "You've basically done nothing." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll fix that." Next check-in again, I couldn't get into it. I was struggling to find the motivation. I was also going through a bit of a time personally. And so I was fortunate enough to get a extension. So I've kind of gone off on a tangent here. Back to my advice. Don't put it off. Don't put off writing your thesis. Get stuck into it straight away. If you need an extension and you have a valid reason for an extension, go for it, because I would have been under so much more stress and pressure, and I probably wouldn't have got the high marks that I got for my honours thesis if I hadn't asked for that extension. It was only like a month extra, but it really helped me. I would say pick a good supervisor. You're going to be working with this person like throughout the entire year. They're kind of like your go-to person when you're stuck or you need advice, and they're also hopefully someone who has experience in this field and on this topic that you're writing about. So pick a good supervisor. I think I knew from like in my second year of my bachelor's degree, when I decided that I was going to do my honours, like I knew who I wanted my thesis supervisor to be. I really like thrived in his classes. I got really good grades. I thought he was like a really good teacher, and I don't know, I just like knew, I was like, this guy seems like really passionate when he talks about certain things, and so he's probably the guy I want as my supervisor. And he was kind of just the guy that the university like suggested to me, and I was like, yeah, good, I already knew I wanted him. And then he was my supervisor. You don't want someone who you like don't get along with, or you're like, you know, I don't know, you don't click with, or they're not really interested in what you're writing about, because it's just going to make all your meetings like kind of pointless and drag on, and you're not going to have that, I don't know, drive to keep going. So pick a good supervisor and pick a good topic as well. You're stuck reading about this thing and writing about this thing for like more than a good half of a year. So pick something that you actually care about. Don't pick something that you think, oh, this will look really good on my academic CV or blah, blah, blah. Just pick something that you care about and you're passionate about, and then you're going to get higher grades for it because you're going to be more interested in it. You're going to have motivation to read about it and write about it. So that's probably my biggest advice. How did you decide on a topic for your honours thesis? Was it hard to write about that much? Was it hard to write that much about a single topic? Like I said, pick something that you care about, and don't stress out about the fact that your topic will change inevitably. I think my topic changed 6 times throughout the year. You start with one idea, and as you begin to research, it evolves into something else, and then you research something more deeper, and then it will continue to evolve. When I started, my topic was going to be looking at the global refugee crisis and Australia's response to that in terms of policy, and I was kind of intending on taking a more of a moral philosophy approach and looking at whether we can consider our response ethical, and kind of comparing that to what a global deontological response or utilitarian response would be. However, as I kind of continued to read, it evolved into more of a general global ethics topic, and then it kind of went into global ethics and global justice. I kind of delved into the realm of cosmopolitanism, and basically my topic ended up being, the title of my thesis was Reframing Global Justice, Reframing Global Justice, a defense of cosmopolitan ethics in a globalized world. So you can see that what I ended up with is quite different from what I started with. But pick something that you're... Send in my roster. Can't send in my roster. My work is closed because of the new laws. So yeah, as I was saying, just pick something that you're interested in, and I guarantee that if you pick something you're interested in, you're going to be so much more motivated to continue to work on it. How did you balance study with your activism, humanitarian change management work, and your actual job? Another great question. Very poorly. I think people, from what I've gathered and like my DMs and things that people say to me online, I think people have this idea in their head that I'm like the queen of doing it all. Like I do a lot. And I will be the first to tell you that I do a lot, but I'm not the queen of balancing it all. I think I struggle a lot, just like most people, to fit everything in a day. You know, I try and get into good routines. I try not be so hard on myself, and I struggle a lot. I think I did underestimate what was involved in my honours, and I kind of prioritised the Humanitarian Changemakers Network stuff and all of my activism, because that's really what I am most passionate about at the end of the day. And it is a good distraction, but it's still a distraction nonetheless, and I wish I had prioritised university above it all. But in terms of just like balancing everything, I've got so many videos on my channel where I kind of talk about like how I balance things, or how I try and stay productive throughout the day and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like I don't really need to say anything about that other than get into a good routine, be in an environment that you thrive in. I had to move house halfway through my honours because the house I was living in was just not the right environment for me. It was just a bunch of and I mean this in no disrespect to anyone watching, but like broke lazy stoners that didn't want to do anything. They wanted to try and increase the price of my rent and like all this kind of crazy stuff, and it was just like a really negative environment. I think there were people that I was friends with when I first moved in, but I really outgrew them. I felt like I was trying to flourish and they were really holding me back, and it just got to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. Moved to an environment where I got into a really great routine. I lived close to a local library and I would just go to the library every day, and that helped me smash out my thesis. I would go to the library Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I would smash out my thesis during the day, like 9 to 5 at the library. Friday, Saturday I would go to work, and then Sunday, Monday I would be at Beck's house with Beck. So getting into a really good routine is probably the best piece of advice I have. And just little things as well. Last year was the first time I decided to kind of like track my screen time on my phone, and I put limits on my phone. So I have like a 1 hour social media limit on my phone, and it's been amazing. Like, maybe I should make a whole separate video about that, but it really did change my life. I had it in my head that I had to be like reachable all the time, and I had to like respond to emails and receive emails like straight away, and it's just not true, unnecessary. The final question is, what's happening now that you've finished your honours? Well, I finished my honours last month and I'm currently taking a break. So I do want to do a PhD. I've always wanted to do postgrad research, but I'm looking at doing that either next year or well into the future. For now, I just want at least 6 months to kind of focus on me, focus on some projects that I've always wanted to do for myself, and then just kind of see where my career takes me after that. I'm really trying to keep my options open, but obviously postgraduate research is definitely on the table for the future. But that is all the questions that I'm going to answer. Thank you so much to everyone who asked me questions way back when I finished my thesis, and thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'm really looking forward to making more videos for you guys while I'm in this whole self-isolation thing. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I would really appreciate a thumbs up. Let me know down below any more questions or comments that you have, and I will see you guys tomorrow for day 3 of self-isolation.